It's the first week of January, first week of the year, first week of the decade, and I'm at a new job, a new career, and a new company, sort of. Here's what the 2020 video series will be about. I've decided to create something that I couldn't find for myself last year, a step-by-step account about starting from the beginning in a new sales enablement role. And I'm really talking about a beginning, starting with creating a strategy for 2020. So today, I'm going to show you my strategy for this year, for sales enablement at my new job. It's not a perfect strategy, but it's mine. A good strategy has three parts: the diagnosis, the guiding principle, and a coherent set of actions. So where and why, how, and what. Or basically, where are we now? How should we get to the place we want to go? What steps are we going to take? Strategy, by the way, is a really interesting subject. If you're interested in getting started, this book on the screen is a great place to start. It's very readable. Every company strategy is going to be unique. Same for every department, every division, every team, every individual. So I'm going to show you my own personal strategy for the job I'm doing in 2020. I hope it's helpful. Let's get started. For 2020, I'm working in product marketing and sales enablement for a mid-sized software company. They make software products for wireless telecom companies. They have customers all over the world. The software helps those companies manage their network usage and charge subscribers, plus other stuff. I've worked for this company before. In fact, I once worked there for 10 years. I worked for different departments. I did different jobs. I was a project manager at customer sites. I was an engineering manager. I worked in pre-sales. I worked in sales. I carried a bag. So I'm already familiar with the products and most of the key players and how the company operates. That's helpful for creating a strategy. And it's helpful for creating the diagnosis, which I'm saying is this: we're losing some deals to our competition. They're much larger companies. They have broad relationships with the customer, including multiple lines of business with them. We will never have the same level of resources they do. They can even give away the products that compete with us if they can make up the difference in their overall revenue with the customer. This company's main profit model, which I'm guessing at and do not have actual information about, is, I think, this. Look down the road, create one of the first products on the market for when a big change happens in the wireless telecom industry. For example, the next big waves of change are 5G, digital transformation, and IoT. Use the sales to those early customers to leverage sales with other customers. Rinse and repeat with the next big change before the product becomes a commodity. The reason I think this is their model is because they don't just add some bells or whistles to the current version of the product and say it's ready for the next big thing. They rebuild the product. Sometimes it's basically a new product altogether to be the first real product of its kind for the next change coming. This is absolutely just my opinion, by the way. I might even be wrong. And it's worth me making the point that unless you're on the leadership team at your company, you don't really need to know your company's corporate strategy to make your own strategy for 2020. I'm in sales enablement and product marketing. Based on my diagnosis, my guiding policy is this: counter the competition's resources with tight coordination and design in the sales process. Coordination and design can each be a partial substitute for resources. And a handful of things came together when they hired me that I can leverage against our competitors. More on that in another video. I should say here that none of this would be helpful if the products weren't excellent. They are, so I don't have to deal with issues like poor quality or lack of features. It's the same with the training and the core sales enablement stuff. Those are already in place and they're solid. Now, part of a guiding policy is an objective that's proximate, the goal that I'm aiming to achieve with the strategy. It's not a vision thing. It's not a dream goal or anything like that. It's a goal I can achieve in the time frame I have with the skills and resources I have access to. My goal is to get us into the top 2 vendors for the deals we go after. And for that, I've decided to focus on something called the pivot meeting. Now, in complex B2B selling, no sale is ever closed with a single meeting. But in every new sale, there's always a meeting that can either derail your chances of making a deal or help you put it into the final 2. A successful pivot meeting is one where the decision maker knows why she's there and decided that, yes, at the end of the meeting, this company is a top contender for this purchase. In the same meeting, the senior technical influencers who work for the decision maker have decided on the same thing, and the competition's been locked out somehow. I see my job as making sure that we develop the coordination we'll need so that we're the clear winner in that meeting. And that's going to take a lot of work. Marketing, sales, leadership, pre-sales, sales enablement, product. There are a few moving pieces here. But once it's in place, None of our competitors will do better than us. They have advantages, sure, but they have disadvantages too. Like other parts of the company having a different agenda for that customer. Bureaucracy, a lot of bureaucracy at these big companies. Not having comparable products, especially if we're in the first part of whatever wave of change we're targeting. What we need to do is keep the discussion focused on the product. It's when the customer can't tell the difference between products that other factors creep in, like the size of the vendor, the size of the relationship, who plays golf with who. Those things will always be present, they'll always be a factor to consider. But for the things you can't influence or control, neutralize them if you can and move on. This is usually why it's harder for small companies to make the sale once the product's become a commodity. Things beside the product itself become the tiebreakers. Okay, so let's sum up what we have so far. We have a diagnosis. When we don't win a deal, it's to very large companies who have their own types of advantages and disadvantages. We have our guiding policy and a proximate objective. We'll use coordination and design as partial substitutes for resources, and we'll use the theme of a perfectly executed pivot meeting. With all the work and coordination and design needed before, during, and after a pivot meeting in order to help us organize our work. The next step is to plan, to create a coherent set of actions that fit together to achieve that perfect pivot meeting consistently. Different parts of the company will need different things and need their own plans. And since I'm sort of the strategist for this, it's my job to help them with that. It's also my job to do a lot of that work. So this is a good place to stop. We covered the diagnosis, the guiding policy, and the achievable objective. In the next video, we're going to talk about the pivot meeting and the different groups involved in making it great and the different needs they all have. That's it for now. I'm back next week. Bye.